astronomical numbers, then suddenly to create dissatisfaction, clipping people's electricity unreasonably. So I'm hoping, as General Secretary of the PPP, I'm watching for patterns, that this will not be done by APNU as a plot to create dissatisfaction among people. So that's why, being on high alert, I noticed this, what seems to be an innocent gesture on the part of the mayor to collect more taxes for the people, for the city council. But I'm sure behind this all is directions from APNU. So first of all, why would you want to do a revaluation of properties in Georgetown in this year? We have made it very clear that there will be no revaluation of any property, which means higher taxes for people in Georgetown or any other part of the country. So I want the residents of Georgetown and across the country to know that there shall be no approval for any revaluation exercise. We saw APNU do this in the term they were in office, where the only part that they succeeded in getting this done was in New Amsterdam, where they increased their rates and taxes by 100%. And you would recall that we campaigned at local government in 2016, and I think again in 2018, that we will not, any NDC controlled by the People's Progressive Party or any town, will not increase taxes. So the residents of Georgetown must know that the PNC, Congress Place, wants their taxes to go up, the rates and taxes. Secondly, we have seen the mayor saying something that is pretty unusual, that people must go in to talk to him and the others about their taxes. Now, that is a recipe for corruption, because if you can go in and negotiate a particular deal, then based on previous experience, people walk away with different deals from the city council on the basis of how much bribe they had to pay to some of the leaders there. So two businessmen may owe $10 million in taxes, but one has to pay $1 million and the other maybe $500,000. They get the rest waived. So I would urge the citizens of Georgetown not to go in there and negotiate any payment directly with the mayor or his officers that he may assign to do so. Now, I've had some complaints from religious organizations in the city that they were told that they got demand notices that increased the payment significantly. I don't know whether this is based on past taxes or just conjecture, but some massive increases to particularly religious entities in the city for rates and taxes. Now, it's commendable to want to collect your taxes, but you cannot do so in a manner that first of all, or do so in a partisan way. The city council budget could be, they can fund 2 years of city council's expenditure from just collecting taxes from Congress Place. Congress Place owes $6.8 billion, or $6.5 billion, I think it was, somewhere between the range. And look, they just brushed that under the carpet, and now they're going after religious organizations, etc. The People's Progressive Party will not support this. So I'm making it clear that we will not approve any revaluation exercise for properties in the city or in any other part of the country for that matter. So if they have approached the Ministry of Finance to have that done, then the answer will be no. And I urge people not to pay bribes to individuals in the city council who may try to extort them. I believe this is part of a plot to create dissatisfaction in the city. Because if you suddenly hear your taxes are going to double, or people send you big demand notices, you may think it's driven by the government, as they are doing, or they will try to do in so many other parts of the country. It's something that I had to bring to your notice because it may seem like the usual business at City Hall. It's not the usual business there. I'm waiting for a call, so I might just have to step out. It's from abroad. The next thing I want to talk a bit about is agriculture. For the past week, I've noticed that once again there's been a view that we are not supportive of farmers. It's been peddled falsely by a few people. They run around into the communities, they falling in love again with the rice farmers as we approach election period. They're back talking to the sugar workers, the cash crop farmers, etc., and mischaracterizing the role that the People's Progressive Party has played in saving agriculture in Guyana upon our return to office. The agriculture sector was under assault. The People's National Congress, APNU, AFC, they had a devastating policy for agriculture. They made a lot of promises in 2015 about potential support to the sector. They promised the rice farmers $9,000, $10,000 a bag per paddy. By the time they left office, the price had collapsed to $2,100 per bag. They promised expanded assistance. Granger told the rice farmers that I need to take this. It's coming from Korea, so I have to take it. It may be so. Granger told the rice farmers that this is a private business. Let me just. He said to the rice farmers that this is a private business. When they met at the convention center, they increased the taxes on fertilizer, on pesticides, on a whole range of commodities. And I really need to address this issue now. in many instances. People are paying, it's a competitive environment, and they really should be getting a better quality service from these entities. You've had, so I think he met with the telecom companies, and I hope that the Public Utilities Commission would also pay attention to this matter. I'm now getting, it's now coming through. So for agriculture, we saw a whole set of increases in taxation, etc. Since this government came into office, we have spent billions of dollars on drainage and irrigation, and the farmers know that. If you go across the entire country, you will see every farmer would tell you that this government has invested in farm-to-market roads and in drainage and irrigation. These are the lifeblood of the industry, and it reverses the neglect on the APNU. In the MMA area, we reversed the taxes from $15,000 per acre that they had increased it to, down back to $3,500 per acre. Imagine that massive increase. We reversed it back. We removed the taxes on pesticides, fertilizer, etc. We removed the taxes on machinery and equipment. We have been giving out seed paddy to the farmers, fertilizer, chemicals. When they had flood, we gave flood relief to those farmers. Last year, when the price of rice went down, we removed the commission from GRDB that the millers paid, and in exchange, they gave the farmers like $4,000 a bag for paddy. And that cost us a lot because we had to then help the GRDB. The GRDB used to be was run on the basis of the commission. We then gave the GRDB about $400 million to fund its operation because the commission was given back to the farmers just to keep the rice prices high. If you look at the yield in the sector, I saw a report recently from the RPA, and they showed that the yield has gone up significantly, especially this year. And we are producing much more paddy, so the demand, like in Berbice alone, they're large. I saw the newspaper article about 3 million bags of paddy in that region alone, which presents a problem for marketing. We've seen the prices come down this year to about $3,600. That's what the millers are offering, from $4,000. Right now, we're working in the government on some arrangement, hopefully, that we'd be able to get the prices back up. We've been talking to the millers, and we've been coming up with some initiatives which we'll unveil shortly. So these are all things that are being done. So when I saw someone, or like from APNU, saying, oh, we sympathize with the rice farmers now, and I heard this, the useless mayor of Georgetown was somewhere telling rice farmers that the PPP neglects them. Imagine this, he was part of the APNU. That's their track record on agriculture. And now for him to be a leading proponent of the agriculture sector, it's just laughable, downright laughable. And I just had to say that because everyone, I thought they would have chosen another sector if they had any shame to talk about support. But agriculture, they even want to destroy the sugar industry. They said we shouldn't spend any money on sugar. It's wasted money. And so all of this has been happening. That is why in the course of the week I saw some of those, a few articles, very few and nothing too serious, but I thought I just mention what we have done for agriculture. In spite of all the APNU being opposed to it. By the way, we're giving an NDC, every NDC, a mini excavator. We've already have about 40, and every NDC across the country will receive one before the end of the year, consistent with the position that we will this year, where we can do a lot of internal drains. I would urge you to look at the Rice Producers Association statement on this issue. The PNC says that they're going to have mass protests for biometrics. And they need biometrics to prevent multiple voting and voters impersonation. So I looked at the Chabrol's story, and it says the PNCR has been barely attracting 15 or less persons on the picket line outside GCOM every Tuesday, even after the GCOM chair ruled out digitalized biometrics for this year's general and regional elections. And then asked whether the PNCR believed that Guyanese cared sufficiently about concerns about the voters list. PNCR executive member Ganesh Mahipal said people were concerned about the state of the list and were in contact with the party, but that the persons you see out there are advocating are the bold ones. You know, the reason why people are not showing up is because the PNC told too many lies. They've been lying to their base so frequently that people just stop believing them. And this is a fact. Who would believe that anything that the PNC says? People, they misled the population so many times. They told people that they won the elections, until now they're saying they won the elections. Why would anyone come out in large numbers to support the PNCR on the street? First of all, everyone knows that this whole question of the biometrics is not to prevent voters' impersonation, nor to have clean elections. Their insistence on digital biometrics. We already have biometrics on the list. You have the folio, with picture ID, etc. People take fingerprints manually, etc. All of that's already there. The reason they want this, and so badly, is because, as I mentioned before, they want to give 2,500 presiding officers the right to decide whether you vote or not. Not to follow the Constitution of Guyana, not to follow the laws of the country, not to respect your right to vote, but to give 2,500 presiding officers the authority to determine whether you will vote or not. When you go to the polling place, and then they come up with they have these biometrics now and say, you failed the biometrics, you can't vote, or I'll give you a tendered ballot, which doesn't get counted. Just imagine that were that to happen in 10 polling places. That will be the beginning of the confusion that they were cheated. That's one. Two, they want to ensure that's why they're insisting also, well, not so much now, that they want cameras at every polling place. So if you have cameras at every polling place and they deliberately caused 10 of them to malfunction, especially in, say, their stronghold or the PPP stronghold, they will ask for the results of those 10 cameras and then say, oh, the cameras are now working. There must have been something wrong, that there was a plot to steal elections. The PNC's inventiveness on stealing can't be underestimated. They have done this as a science. They have developed this into a science, stealing elections, from a very, very long time. And we are watching at every attempt to sow confusion. In the last elections, people went, they voted, 661,000 people on the list, 461,000 voted. That was it. The rest could not vote because they didn't present themselves to the station. We have a robust system now to ensure against voters impersonation. But APNU doesn't want that. So the very same press conference that was reported on, they were asked about the Venezuelans. You will recall they said that there are lots of Venezuelans who are being registered. They have not been able to provide a single Venezuelan national, information on a single Venezuelan national who has been registered illegally. Not a single one. But they continue to make this claim that Venezuelans are there. They spoke about the list being bloated, but refused to submit claims and objections. They said they will do so at the appropriate time. Well, now this has been the appropriate time. There's no appropriate time in the future. If you know about all of these people who are illegally on the list. So this is typical APNU again. And then I saw Roysdale Ford, they rolled him out. And he said, Roysdale Ford is the polished version of David Hines. And that it's the fear of losing that makes the PPP not want biometrics. He has to be part of this deranged camp because nobody believes that. It's fear of them stealing and creating confusion that we don't want this particular form of biometrics that they may want to use to deny people the right to vote. That is what we want. And Roysdale Ford keeps speaking about PPP stealing the last elections. I see my comments about the roads and public works needs to be more responsive to people about digging up the roads in the country, generating a lot of discussion. So one person in Kaichor News said that my comments were inappropriate. Public works projects by their very nature are disruptive. So they're supporting for the first time the government, but since it's against Jagdeo, they're support the government but cuss Jagdeo. Oh, I should not have said that. They are messy and can and do lead to inconvenience. Well, I'm glad Kaichor News took that position so that now they can't complain about the inconvenience because they said public works projects are by their very nature messy. So I'm happy that they took that position. And then I saw from Figueroa today, he said it's a rare, the Vice President's admission that the rollout of construction projects appears ad hoc and disorganized is a rare but candid acknowledgement of the lack of proper planning and coordination in execution of these much-needed development projects. He further said that residents are left without alternative routes, severely impacting their ability to commute, etc. Now, this is not about, clearly Figueroa didn't understand what I'm saying, or the others. I spoke about the planning of the government of public infrastructure. I spoke about that extensively in many press conferences here. I outlined the large number of projects and how they're transforming the lives of people. Projects in the social sectors, 12 hospitals, rehabilitation of others, they're going well. I spoke about the new schools being built. I spoke about roads, bridges, power plants, transmission mains, etc. And a lot of them are going well, and they're coordinated, and they all support two objectives: improvement of welfare of people and expansion of the economy, the base for the expansion of the economy. And I pointed out that we're the only party that has a plan, a vision, a plan to buttress it, and we have actively put together a series of projects and programs to support that plan. Having said that, I have to be blind and not to see that in some cases that there's callousness on the implementation of some of the projects. It has nothing to do with planning. It has absolutely nothing to do with planning. It's just neglect. It's neglect and people not doing what they should be doing. And as General Secretary of the People's Progressive Party, that put together a manifesto and that supports a party that supports the government now in the largest expansion of infrastructure ever in the history of our country in a short period, and it's well done, and it's transforming our country and the lives of the people. I have to be divorced from reality if I don't express what people tell me, their frustrations too, and seek to get the government and government officers to address those concerns. So how do you have an alternative route on the East Bank when we have one road on the East Bank? How do you have an alternative route? We have one road on the East Bank. We're creating the alternative now. So when we had the choke point at Grove, we awarded the contract to go to Busby Dam now, and the road would be completed by the end of March, so you can bypass that area, we can work there. But if we want to work beyond Busby Dam, all the way to the airport, where would be put the bypass? And that's the road I was talking about, that we just awarded. So would they say the road is, we don't need to repave the East Bank Road or widen it? The answer would be, clearly, you got to be crazy to say that. The road is the single road that brings most of our traffic and material for construction coming down that road. We have a project, because we saw that need, we have a project now to widen the road 8 feet and repave it whilst we're building the alternative. But that doesn't mean that the people who are the Chinese contractor or Ministry of Public Works can just go and dig up anywhere on the road without regard for the flow of traffic. Although I know how hard it is to work on a road where you have that amount of traffic and there is no bypass. But to think that I will pass by, or the president will pass by, and ignore the suffering that people, the man-made suffering that people have to go through on a daily basis, when that could be eased because of greater diligence on the part of our engineers. So we must not mention that. That's an admission that, oh, we're not planning well. It's not planning, it's the implementation. And we have 40,000 contracts around the country every day, maybe, being implemented. We can't oversee every one of them, but it's not lack of planning. We need the road. We awarded a contract for the road, but it is how it's being constructed. And we have a duty as citizens and me as General Secretary. I don't care if my comments coincide with that of the opposition. And if they call it out, they're right to do so too. We pay engineers for a purpose, to make sure that things are done well, our roads are built well, or whatever public infrastructure, but they can't do so with and behave like little gods. They don't care about the users on the road. And that's what I was speaking to. As General Secretary of the party, I will continue to do so. I don't care about Figueira at all. And to be lectured by Figueira, on planning is really something, anyhow, let me don't deal too much with him about that, on that issue. But this is precisely why I pointed out that they did not have a proper protocol for putting down the concrete poles. Now we've shifted to concrete poles. I would have expected by now that the engineers, not the politicians, would have said, here is the protocol for manufacturing a concrete pole. That's to be pre-stressed, that's to be certain strength, so it would last 40 years. 2, for transporting, a protocol for transporting these poles, installing them in a manner that they would stay in the ground. I expect that by now, not politicians to say that. We discovered they did not have such a protocol. They just had, just put it down 6 feet, 10% of the length of the pole plus 2 feet. But you have to look at the subsurface, the base, and everything else to understand that. Now they have done that. It's not because of failure of the PPP or the politicians or our party. It's because of the people who you pay to do the work. They should have done this before. But we're not going to say, oh, keep it, sweep it under the carpet. We want it fixed, and it's been fixed now. It has been fixed now. So they now have a seminar to brief everyone who is producing these poles and transporting them and installing them about the future. We do this routinely, and that's how the system grows. I'm not worried about people saying, oh, Jagdeo mentioned this might be a veiled criticism of the government. What are we here for if not to improve the public works we do? It's not a failure of the government. In fact, it is the government working to see that we do things well and we get value for money. They want a dodo government like the last government that would have a cardboard cutout of the president, and people had to take pictures with that. That's not the way we operate. And then now, this week, another issue came to my attention, so I should not mention it. But if I listened to these people, I wouldn't mention it. But we just discovered that on the East Bank, a number of the people who were building these concrete roads, the small contractors, they said that the concrete suppliers, and there's several of them, and some of them have been very delinquent. They supply short material, and secondly, the PSI is not the right PSI. So 28 days later, a road should be at 4,000 PSI or 4,500 PSI. They're getting 2,000 PSI. That means they're cheating on the quality of the concrete. So the small guy who is building the road, he buys the concrete, he does it, gets a small contract, but when the road doesn't meet the standard and it starts dusting, then he gets blamed too. but it is the quality of concrete supplied. So Public Works, I talked to them and they're going to issue a statement. And if we find that they are doing this, the suppliers, they would lose the right to supply to any government project, because we'd say to those people, don't buy from them. In fact, effectively blacklisting them, and I hope they're listening. I hope they're listening too. But should we say, oh, let's don't talk about this? So I don't care whether, so this is what Figueroa said. The Vice President is tantamount to agreeing with the opposition with the ad hoc nature of construction project. It's not ad hoc. It's a bad use of the word. It's not ad hoc. Everything is planned. It is implementation. Implementation. And as I said before, some people sent me pictures of projects that are 2 roads and again on the East Bank. The guy put some rusty BRC fabric on the road. But thankfully people are watching them and the engineers are there, so they can look at it. I can't know about if the man put rusty BRC in the concrete and do it. So it is something that we have been encouraging citizens. That's the nature of our government. We're open, we're transparent. We're encouraging the citizens. If you see public infrastructure being done in your communities and you see it being done in a shoddy manner, speak up. Post a picture online. We don't take it as a criticism of the government if you expose shoddy work being done. We have a duty to do that, to go and check it out and fix it, because we can't be everywhere and see everything the same time. So for those who want to live in the dark, we in the opposition, we're not going to be falling prey to that. So as I told you before, politically they've gone back to the past. There's another peeping Tom in Kiteshore News. Normally I don't pay too much attention, but this week, as I said, it's a slow week. So nobody pays too much attention to Glenn Lal and his ring fencing rant. You know, he doesn't understand anything. So he said, can you imagine the weird logic of this, peeping Tom? It says, we never produced a statement of poll to show that in 2015, we won the elections. So they said the PPP had claimed in 2015 that we were cheated, but we never showed a statement of poll. The fact is, we moved on. We accepted, we lost the elections, and we moved on. Imagine them talking today about PPP statement of poll in 2015 and would not say a word about the missing statements of poll from APNU that showed that Patterson said he saw that they coincided with Mingo's number and showed that the PNC won. But the Kiteshore News wants to go back to 2015 PPP statement of poll. We acknowledge we lost the elections, we were opposition, we came back and won the elections. So this is how warped the political environment is today. They said before 2015 we have controversies about the Marriott Hotel project. You remember the same Glenn Lal was saying, I own the hotel. And it was not owned by the government, which was a lie. It was not mired in controversy. They made it controversial. It's the most profitable venture that any part of this world for a hotel, one of the most profitable ventures. We can get probably near double the price that we built it for now. One of the most successful public investments, and it still belongs 100% to the people of this country. 100%. and hundreds of Guyanese are working there. You go in, you see them with jobs there. We own that hotel. But it's not mired in controversy. They made it controversial by saying they'll turn it into a hospital if they won the elections because it was a corrupt project. Nothing of that. The Berbice Bridge, they mentioned that back again. Can you imagine these people? 17 years or 18 years after the bridge has been serving the people of the country, it's still mired in controversy. It's been the most profitable investment that the NIS ever made. Got a great return on its investment. They've gone back to a miler's fall. The same Kaichur that said we would run out of water and all of that, $2 billion of debt to the Treasury when it was zero. So I expect a lot of this. I expect a lot of this to happen, and as you get closer to the elections, they're going to try to resurrect the lies that they told in 2015. I can go down the long list of lies that large amounts of land were transferred to PPP people. They did these audits, the forensic audits, you remember, 46 of them in every agency, couldn't find that PPP people had accumulated large sums of money abroad. They checked everywhere. It's a lie. A whole range of accusations. They would lock up everybody in 2015. Well, they took the best shot. Soku took every PPP leader into the office. Arrested Roger Luncheon, who couldn't walk. Wouldn't take the statement from him at my office. They could have easily taken a statement at the leader of the opposition office from him. They insisted to arrest him and take him down to Soku. Samuel Hines had to go there. Every PPP leader. All the ministers. And what came out of it? They couldn't find a single thing. Because all the privatization that they were speaking about and the rumors that they spread in 2015 about PPP corruption, they couldn't find any evidence of it because there was none. It was lies. They even used to talk about my pension. You remember Jagdeo took a special pension and special benefits for himself? It wasn't true because every president before me got those benefits, and the same law gave Samuel Hines and Ramatar the same benefits I got as ex-president, and Granger is getting it. They changed it, but Granger is getting the same benefits that was in the original law. He removed health care from it, and now he's the one who's benefiting most from the health expenditure. Because if we had gone on the basis of his law, the millions we're spending on health care for former President Granger he wouldn't have gotten it. Gotten 200,000 Guyana dollars a year. But because of vindictiveness. So we need to remember that past because they constantly keep trying to lie and resurrect it. The same way they are lying about the 1,400 Afro-Guyanese we killed. Nigel Hughes said 1,200 when asked about it. Oh, I don't really have he doesn't have a number. Doesn't know how he came up with it. Because he's practiced long, so he knows a number. They're resurrecting the lies once again. So, but people are seeing through the book. So, if you talk about corruption under APNU, look at this here. You just say nothing unusual with his wife awarding her own company contracts as minister in her own ministry. That's nothing unusual. If that's not unusual, then what else? Every minister can then say, I want to accompany the Minister of Finance, or maybe Health or Education can say, I'd award my own company now contract to supply the drugs. That wouldn't be unusual according to Nigel Hughes. It wouldn't be unusual. Every minister could they set up a company then. This is their standard. It's nothing unusual. But you bet if anything remotely happens close to this PPP, not even their own contract, the company in their own ministry, you would hear a big shout about corruption. But this is, last week he said this. He himself said, there's nothing wrong if I will look out for Exxon interest above that of Guyana. Would not give up a contract. He's on their payroll. And nothing unusual about it. So I want to see if this is the standard they're setting, then we're in sad shape. I see some nonsense from there's guy Christopher saying that Bahamas would be collecting more taxes from Exxon than we would collect revenue. It's just pure nonsense. You get a lot of silly things. Anyhow, maybe I should. This week, as I said before, there are very few things I wanted to deal with. I just want to give Norton a shout out for the chip on Matrimony Day. He did a real nice performance and stuff like that, and I must say, the AFC was not missing too. They're often missing because they think it's too below their class, you know. There's a fake intellectualism, they pretend kind of behavior that they're sophisticated and they're intellectuals and middle class. They look down upon that. But so kudos to Norton for joining us on the ground and with his famous chip now, by now. It was good that they came out on match day. And they didn't go to Congress Place like, they went the whole route like traditionally they would do, disappear at Congress Place. So that's all I'm going to say today.
Mr. Jagdeo, Dennis Shabal, Demarawi. Sir, a couple of quick questions. Could you say what is the status of the appointment of the Local Government Commission? And secondly, will Guyana stop taking members of the Cuban Medical Brigade in light of threats by the U.S. to impose visa sanctions on government officials and their families for links to Cuba's labor export program, including the medical missions? And thirdly, could you say why is government still doing business with the Mohammeds in light of the sanctions that were imposed by the U.S.? And finally, to what extent are you worried about the multi-ethnic feedback by Guyanese to Mr. Azruddin Mohammed whenever he goes to communities? That's if he decides to contest the 2025 general and regional elections.
So the medical missions doing business with the Mohammeds, Dennis. What's the other one? Multi-ethnic feedback. And what's the first one?
Local Government Commission appointment.
Local Government Commission. 4 questions from Dennis. So the Local Government Commission, I know the last that I know of it, that Gail Teixeira wrote requesting a nominee from the leader of the opposition. I think he may have submitted that nominee or a number of nominees, because according to the act he has a role to play. So he may have submitted. I think I saw that the nominees have been submitted. So I guess by now there are some ministerial involvement. The ministers have to submit their nominees too. And I guess as soon as that's done, the president will appoint the Local Government Commission. But it's the desire of the government to get the Local Government Commission in place, and it will be done shortly. That is why the leader of the opposition was written to ensure that his nominees are submitted. So I anticipate it will be done shortly, and it may be crucial now, particularly with the pernicious plot that I spoke of by the mayor and those of his ilk and APNU in the local government system, that they may be trying to put more pressure on people with the hope that they would blame the government and then result in more favorable view of APNU AFC in the electoral process. So I anticipate that will be done shortly. We have carefully examined the statement out of the United States of America concerning Cuban medical brigades in countries and the potential of sanction against those countries that collaborate with Cuba on this matter. Now, you know that the Cuban presence, or medical presence, in the Caribbean has been there for a very, very long time and has transcended several US administrations. The Cuban medical presence in the region has had some positive impact on healthcare delivery across the region. This issue is not just about Guyana. This is about the entire Caribbean. Now, I know that at the last meeting of CARICOM leaders, there was an agreement to engage the Trump administration on a number of issues because we felt that President Trump should see the regions not through the eyes of third party, but through directly get views from the leaders of the region. And the Secretary of State Rubio has been in contact with several leaders in CARICOM. I know for sure President Ali. So I anticipate, given its region-wide impact, that this would be one of the issues that the leaders would have to jointly engage the US government on. But there are several other issues. So Guyana will be part of that CARICOM approach to the US administration, and it will be done with, I guess, at the leadership level of the region, by the regional leaders directly with either the State Department or the White House. We hope that we'd be able to do so. But not just on the Cuban Medical Brigade. On trade matters, on aid matters, on deportees, I think we've already made it clear that I think every country in the region, they will accept without any condition their nationals back. That matter has practically been settled, but we still want to engage the US administration on all matters. And that came out of the last CARICOM heads of government meeting. So given it's a region-wide impact that this would have, the decision, I think it's best to approach it through the region. The government doing business with Mohammed, I don't know that the government is doing business with the Mohammed. The last time I checked, we are not been doing any business with the Mohammeds. So I don't know where that is coming from. I saw something that was circulated about permission for some vessels. And I think that may have expired by now.
It has been renewed, and it's for a cabotage for what I was told for a national project.
I'm not aware of that.
And this approval came from the Maritime Administration, which is a government
When
agency.
was this renewed?
It has been renewed. It was renewed over the last few weeks, and it will expire, I think, either in August or September, if my memory
If it's
serves.
renewed in the last few weeks, it can't expire by August, because it is. I think these permissions go for 1 year. So I saw a permission in August of 2024. That was given. Frankly speaking, I did not know of that, but by now I think that permission may have expired. We'd have to check. We'd have to check. I didn't pay serious attention to that matter. On the other issue about, you asked about Azruddin Mohammed. I'm the leader of a political party, a big political party, the largest political party in the country. Our party, on its own, but because of our track record, because of our commitment to people, because of our groundwork, we transformed the lives of many people, and because of that, we have won several elections. We're the only multi-ethnic party in the country, and you can see evidence of that. For me to comment politically on individuals and what they're doing would be premature. First of all, I comment on our political opponents, other parties, and some of the parties may even be our allies. But as the head of a political party, as General Secretary, I can't be commenting on every social media activist if they go to a community or any charity that hands out a few things to people. I made it clear that should people declare a political intention, then that, at that point in time, it's fair game for me to express a view on that party or that person. Like when Glenn Lal declared his intention to form a political party, I dealt with him slightly differently. He has not formed the party as yet or declared he's contesting the elections, so I have kind of eased off a bit. Because, it would be premature for me to comment on just individuals who go around, sharing things and talking to people. If you criticize the PPP, now that's another matter. So if you can show me any criticism of the PPP made by this individual, I can share my view on that now. Show me a criticism that he has made of the PPP, and I will deal with it. But beyond that, I'm not. I think it's premature. The time will come, or may come, when I'd have to do that. And I'm ready to do that. And in fact, eager to do that about all of our opponents, not just this gentleman, should he decide to go that route. But right now, it's premature.
Mr. Jagdeo, please follow up on the Cuban.
But what I want to say is you have some scamps, though. Like I saw the mayor of Georgetown. He's an old scamp, going around and suddenly he found newfound love and all of that. Yeah, he's an old scamp. Yeah, so I can give my views on him, mayor. I see James Bond there. James Bond, friend. Of the
Mr.
past.
Jagdeo, follow up on the matter of the Cuban Medical Brigade. What is likely to be Guyana's input in those discussions with the United States as regards the Cuban Medical Brigade?
So this is not a Guyana input. It is, I think, a regional issue. You know, Dennis, that almost every country in the region has not for the 1 year. It transcends administrations, political administrations, and a long period of history have had Cuban medical brigades in their country. So it is an issue that will affect every country in our region, every single country, not just in CARICOM, many other countries around the world. But I think it's up to the leaders themselves when they meet to decide. They already said, we want to engage and have a good working relationship with the Trump administration. The US is a very important partner for the region and for Guyana, and therefore the leaders have already identified the need to engage directly with the Secretary of State and with President Trump. And I think they have made outreaches to that effect already. They had several issues they had identified that they want to talk to the new administration on, and this will be just one of those issues. So when they meet, they will probably coordinate what they will say to President Trump or to Secretary of State Rubio.
Good afternoon, Kimal King for Reuters. Vice President, at the United Nations Security Council recently, Guyana voted in favor of a resolution proposed by the US, which took a stance that appeared to be neutral on the situation in Ukraine. You have spoken in the past about how Guyana respects country sovereignty, just as Guyana is advocating for respect for its own sovereignty in the issue with Venezuela. Do you believe it is appropriate for Guyana to take a stance that reflects or hints at neutrality on Russia's invasion of Ukraine?
So the United States put forward a resolution to the Security Council. It was a simple resolution. It spoke about peace in Ukraine. There were attempts to amend this resolution. Those were vetoed. So the only remaining resolution to vote on was a resolution that called for peace in Ukraine. Are you suggesting that we should not vote for a resolution? The only resolution that was there to vote on that calls for peace. It's as simple as that.
There have been statements regarding the territorial controversy.
But that's what I'm telling you. What was before the Security Council was a resolution by the United States of America seeking peace in Ukraine. Several countries tried to change that to include other language. Those attempts were vetoed. So at the end of the day, there was just one resolution, the original resolution remaining there to vote on. That resolution called for peace. We voted for peace in Ukraine. It's as simple as that.
Okay. Is Guyana in any sort of collaboration with the United States at the level of the Security Council in exchange for any support in the territorial controversy with Venezuela?
What do you mean collaboration at the Security Council? I think the United States position is well known, well documented, and it does not require collaboration at the Security Council. Their position on the border issue with Venezuela is very clear. They support the territorial integrity, sovereignty of Guyana. They believe that Venezuela's claim is a spurious one. they've supported us historically, and they continue to support us. Secretary of State Rubio said that to the president. The president thanked him for his past support when he had a call with him for not just for democracy in Guyana, because Secretary of State Rubio played a very important role in that period when AFC APNU were trying to steal the elections. And he's also strongly expressed as a senator support for Guyana's territorial integrity. And the president thanked him for both positions. But it's not the subject of negotiation at the Security Council.
Well, just the reason I ask is because since the new administration, you've seen changes in U.S. foreign policy on various issues, including the Ukraine issue.
Yes, but we can't link the two. The U.S. administration has a policy on peace in Ukraine that it's pursuing. You have other countries in the world, including Europe, that may have a different view as to how peace should be pursued. But I don't think they have any disagreement between the two parties about the need for peace in Ukraine and to stop the war. And so we're all unified around that. The war is senseless, too many people get killed, and it has a devastating impact on Ukraine and on Russia too. And for that matter, Europe, the United States of America, tens of billions of dollars, as President Trump pointed out, being spent on that war. So the need to bring peace there is vital. And so far, there have not been any serious attempt to do so. That is why, whether you like it or not, President Trump came into office and he has been pursuing steadfastly with almost a very, very sharp focus the peace in the Ukraine through the engagements. He put his administration to deal with this matter as a top priority. So you have to appreciate that too. There is now only one game in town to bring peace in Ukraine. How it's pursued is a different matter, but only because of the US's effort now under President Trump. Because all along there was no peace process going on. There was absolutely none. There was no engagement between the parties. And that is vital to bring peace to the Ukraine. You have to engage between the parties. But that is totally unrelated to our situation.
Okay, just finally on that issue, doesn't the U.S. position benefit? Russia invaded Ukraine, and Russia voted in favor of the resolution calling for peace, but Russia is the invading force. So if Russia supports a resolution that calls for peace, what does that say about the impact this resolution will have?
But 10 countries supported the resolution calling for peace, and it was not vetoed by the two countries that had veto powers could have vetoed the resolution, and then 3 others abstained. So 5 abstained, meaning they were not opposed to the agreement. So in the Security Council, it was passed with 10 votes in favor of and 5 abstentions, including 2 countries that had the veto power that could have vetoed the agreement. So
Just two more questions locally. To what extent does the government see delays in certain major projects like the Damara River Crossing and the gas to energy project impacting Guyana's growth projection for this year? And could you say how much, according to your figures, is in Exxon Stabroek Block Cost Bank? Like how much has been recovered and how much remains as of end 2024?
Okay, I can get the exact numbers for you. We can get the exact numbers. The ministry would have it. About 2 months ago, I presented those numbers right here, but it probably would have changed by now because it constantly keeps changing. So a significant amount of the cost bank had been paid off from revenue because and I gave an explanation at that time that the accelerated payoff or retirement of the cost bank came about because the oil prices were above the prices that when we had the original schedule for the cost bank retirement, they were being above that figure. That is the global price has been above that figure. So I can easily get that for you from the ministry. You can get it. I'll tell them to give you. The bridge and the GTE project did not weigh heavily because we anticipate they will come almost towards the end of the year. So they didn't weigh heavily into our forecast on GDP growth rate for this year. Yes, listen.
Good afternoon, Mr. Jagdeo.
Good afternoon.
Ian Harris from Chariot News Network.
Yes, go ahead.
I would like to ask, in light of the recent shooting of the soldiers by alleged Sindicato elements, can you possibly indicate if there has been an update as with regards to current investigations on the incident?
Okay, I would prefer if the police and the army deal directly with that, because they may be sensitive issues that, given it's a border issue and it has implications both for national security, but territorial integrity and all of those issues. I prefer if they deal directly with it based on consultations with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and how it's approached, rather than to venture and share any information now at the venture to have an opinion on it.
Okay. Yeah. I have one last question.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah.
I know that you and the People's Progressive Party are great planners as it relates to development. I would like to ask, in light of the current ongoing infrastructural activities, how much government is saving by actually executing these projects from a GDP perspective?
So these projects, several projects are being done that would have different impact on output, that is GDP, revenue, and income. Revenue to the state and then income to people. So take, for example, the bridge, the Damara Harbor Bridge, the new bridge. So first of all, that bridge, when completed, would have a massive impact on gross domestic product, investment opportunities, and hence income, because you'd be able to utilize all the lands in that big region with a huge population there to bring it into economic activities that would not have been feasible without the bridge. And I explained that before. if you build a wharf over in Region 3, or say a fuel depot, and you had to move a large truck laden with fuel or a container back across the floating bridge, it was nearly impossible to do so, and do it on a continuous basis. With that bridge now, that changes the entire dynamics. So you're going to see massive investments in that region, a growth in regional GDP, but also national GDP, opening up of more investment opportunities. So it would have an impact on income too, people's income, because they have more jobs, etc. in that region. They don't have to travel far. It would also have major impact on the social side. You know, we are saturated practically with land requests for demurrer. So now if we can move some people over to live in Region 3 or satisfy the demand for housing in Region 3, not everyone will want to come and live in 4 anymore, because it would be so easy. You have a bridge that doesn't open, that's free, that you don't have any toll, that you can just drive from Wales with connecting roads into Georgetown in a matter of minutes. The demand for housing in Georgetown, or well, in Region 4 could go down. So it would have a social impact. So every project, the gas to energy project, I already pointed out how we can save nearly $400 million a year. The consumers alone, $400 million a year, US dollars a year, because of cheaper gas price and cheaper cooking gas and cheaper electricity prices when that project is completed. That is, if we utilize all the gas. So, but it will also have an impact on gross domestic product. More power, cheaper power, expansion of industries, generate more jobs, greater income, etc. So a lot of those projects are done with that in mind. Then you have like hospitals. That's part of our social commitment to people. Might not be might generate some jobs, but it would have, if it's consistent with our commitment to ensure that every Guyanese would have a world-class healthcare, and wherever you live. So if you live in New Amsterdam or in Berbice, you would have access to a first-tier hospital there, a European standard hospital in Berbice. You can just, in Region 5, 2 people can easily come across the new bridge. Or in Essequibo, you'd have a new hospital too, right across the country, I'm speaking about, including telemedicine, etc. So each of these projects are assessed based on their impact. I don't know if that is what you had in mind. Oh yeah, okay.
Trishelle Sobers, Guyana Times. I have like 4 questions.
No problem, go ahead.
My first one being, the Lands and Survey Commission on several occasions would have reiterated the state ownership of the land at Carifesta Avenue in Georgetown. However, recently during a statutory meeting, the mayor and some of the councillors would have voted for the mayor city council, or the mayor to be exact, to write to the Qatari investors about the land dispute. Can you share your thoughts on this move and its possible impacts? As well, now that the International Energy Conference has concluded, can you speak to, or can you give us an update on your meeting with GCOM? I know last week you would have indicated that. Okay. And my third question, you spoke about incentives and investments for rice farmers. Can you speak to specific interventions government is looking at for rice farmers, specifically if government is exploring new markets or they're looking to increase exports to current markets? And my final question, do you agree that the cash grant, while a commendable initiative, has become a nightmare for some citizens due to execution challenges and lack of poor planning by those left in charge with the situation, specifically as it relates to difficulties in cashing the grants, specifically for shut-in individuals or persons living with disabilities?
Yeah, so the thing is that I've asked several people to give me details. Last week, someone came from, I think, Mosley's outfit. And the reporter said that an individual got a check or someone got a check who should not be getting that check, basically. So I asked for the detailed information to check this out. And it turned out, well, up to now, I can't get the information. So there are, when I look at the number of people who have received their checks, so I have messages like St. Pius, a family of, let me read, because sometimes we don't get this out. Let me read something. I took my mom, my special needs sister, and another elderly from the village to St. Pius. We got through in 25 minutes. The staff were helpful and polite, and they were trying to look after elderly persons quickly. I must compliment, process was smooth and orderly. We just tend to focus on all of the people, the complainants. What about the tens of thousands? For every one person who has a problem, you have 200 others who went through the process and got it done well. And this is something, it's this obsession, and it's part of the confusion too, because these are highlighted by the opposition. Now, if people have a problem, we have to fix it. That's why we said we actually send people on the ground. A number of people yesterday were with pensioners who had a problem. Some of them were taken into the ministry and they found their checks because the checks didn't go there yet. So sometimes they do have that, like the location, sorting the checks. If it's in Georgetown, sometimes the checks go to a different location. So the person shows up elsewhere, even though it's on their form. You know, if you check the ministry system, right, the website. Because it's humans you're dealing with. And the people who are sorting the check may just make a mistake. But that gets highlighted more than the work that's being done right across the country. And then it's this confusion that they want to spread. Now, wherever there is incompetence, wherever there is callousness, we should fix it. But I can't deny that the hard work that tens of thousands, well, hundreds of Guyanese are putting in to get this out to our people, get the checks out to our people. And a lot of people don't want to wait to. They come and they don't want to wait. They believe everybody should be in the front of the line. So you get confusion. And these are the people who are operating there are human too, and they have to go through a process. So APNU saying now, oh, why do you need to take a picture that this is callous, it's belittling? If we don't take the picture to verify that the person who's receiving the check was the one registered, they're looking for a case where a wrong person collects a check and then they would complain about that. It's not belittling. It's just the verification process. They then spread a rumor. Up to now, a lot of people are going to the banks. A man said to me, I got to get to the bank because this check only valid for 3 days. But they've been spreading the rumors everywhere, APNU and others, only 3 days the check is valid for. Some people went on the East Coast. I heard they discounted their checks. They go to some business people. They got a man who giving you, you're getting 95,000. He gets 5,000 for discounting the check. And so he's giving people that, and he gets 5,000 on every check. Because people believe that they got to get rid of this check in 3 days' time, or else they would lose the money. How can that be helpful? Because now it puts people in panic. They're all going immediately to the banks, to get their money. And a significant number of people until today. This morning, I'm telling you, a man called me and said, I hear the bank, I got to get rid of the money. This is already the third day. So a lot of confusion. So we made a commitment, everybody would get their checks, including shut-ins and stuff. The shut-ins, I believe, should not even come out. We'll get it to them eventually. We paid a particular attention to the pensioners. Yesterday we had our councillors from the city council, ministers go around to some of the sites trying to solve problems as they come up with people. Sometimes the check is not cut as yet, or it's sent to another location, because only an engaging government will do this sort of thing. We want to get it done. But a lot of the confusion also comes from the rumors that people hear. So that's one. The GCOM, I did not meet GCOM as yet. Oh no, I have not set the date. I'd have the executive secretary of the party write and coordinate the date with GCOM. So on the Carifesta Avenue, this is a hustle. This is a hustle. They know they don't own the land. It's been proven, etc. But this is consistent with APNU's anti-development agenda. Just imagine you would give a $350 million US investment, a massive revenue stream to the city council. You're going to have, it would change the outlook of the whole city, because the hotels that would go up there would not be of the regular kind. These are major 5-star hotels that would be reserved for that area. It will transform Guyana. There'll be almost nothing like those hotels anywhere in the Caribbean. You should want to encourage the project taking place. Thousands of Guyanese will be working, providing services to those hotels, change the whole landscape. They're trying to block it, the PNC, through the mayor. And not that they have good grounds on it. Not that they have good grounds. They don't own the land. It's been demonstrated over and over again. But I think this is a hustle, trying to shake down people. But it's not going to happen. We're not going to allow the city council to shake down the investors. This is how countries get a bad reputation. They go around and you have like hustlers trying to meet with the investors to collect money from them or something like that. I think this is precisely what's happening. On the rice, so clearly it's a combination of things. We have to find more markets because our production is expanding. We have to find more markets that are better remunerated, higher prices. The world market prices came down for rice. So we have to promote greater domestic use of the rice for industrialization, because you can use the rice to do a number of things, for more value-added activities. And then here, if we continue to assist the farmers by helping them with some of the input costs, like fertilizers and pesticides, and they have good drainage and irrigation, etc., then the venture becomes profitable. And if they, on the same acreage, get higher yields, so even if the prices come down slightly, then the higher yields offset the lower prices. So they make the same amount from the, say, 1 acre as they would have made in the past because of high yields. And then, of course, we are working now, this year again, like last year we did, to see what additional assistance because the prices came down slightly. We are working now directly. We've already started doing crunching the numbers to see what could be done for this crop. So soon the rice farmers and the rice millers are going to hear from us on that matter. These are the 4 things. Yes.
On the cash grant, when I was, can you say, you said that government will go to the shut-ins, because one of the difficulties being experienced is persons who are shut-in individuals as well as persons who have disabilities. Some banks have policies and they would have indicated that they're not accepting third-party checks.
Go to another bank.
Go to another bank.
Go to another bank. There are lots of banks in Guyana, and they all have to clear the checks. They can't refuse to clear a government-issued check.
Got it.
Good afternoon, Sir. Luan Williams, DPI.
But we must condemn this thing about deliberate misleading people. The 3 days thing, that created a lot of panic and confusion around the country. And they do it callously, the PNC. They did it. They don't care the impact it had on people, how worried they were, and the confusion. Because, people are planning, I change it next week or so if I get it. Panic, mass panic. People started running around immediately and changing to go. This is ridiculous. And they get away with that sort of thing.
Luan Williams, DPI.
Yes.
Sir, when can we expect to see your manifesto for 2025?
Once we launch, we already have a great number of ideas, and we've already put together frameworks and stuff like that. We know what we want to do in the next term, how we're going to build on what we have done in this term. And this term has not been like a full term, basically, because of COVID. The first 2 years, we were constrained because of COVID. A lot of the things, people forget that we had COVID. We came into office with an economy shut down, and we had to reboot the economy. We had to keep people safe. The first year and a half we lost practically. So just imagine the full 5 year, where we will be, because a lot of the big projects would be on stream, and there's several others. We're going to focus heavily on jobs, better paying jobs for our people, increasing the quality of labor by better quality education, free education. That's an important metric for the future, and higher paying jobs. Investment vehicles for young people and young Guyanese, apart from housing. Just a couple of days ago, I spoke to a prominent Guyanese, and we're talking about even financial literacy from the party. We're going to start this from the party level to do financial literacy among young people and across the country, because we want people to be able to use their money differently. As we look at the banking system now, people are starting to accumulate some small sums and larger sums. Even the guys with small sums of money, we want them to think about using money differently. And so a lot of that for wealth creation for our people. When I say wealth creation, I don't mean at the top. Those big businessmen, they can figure things out themselves. But I'm speaking about at the lower end and the middle end, that how people can invest in the future. We want to create more investment vehicles that will give guarantee returns. I started speaking about it last week when we were talking about Suriname. But some investment vehicles of that type, where you get a guaranteed return from the government if you put your money there so you can help fund some projects, not because we need the money. We can easily probably even borrow cheaper, but because we want to give people a return on their investment that is far higher than parking their money in the banking system, and they would have a government guarantee, so they don't have to worry about the safety of their money or anybody running away with their money or losing it. A lot of that kind of qualitative issue on life, how we get more people. This issue about domestic violence is a major one. It's something that we've signed on to all the conventions, we've passed all the laws. We have to get hold of that. That and traffic, the deaths from traffic, are two of the biggest things outside of security in people's home from criminal activities. But biggest causes of death now is this traffic, and we've seen whilst like serious crime has come down, but the incidence of domestic violence and extreme ones have, well, not grown, but it's still very prevalent, very, very prevalent, and we have to think about those. So it's more the soft type of issues, a lot about how can we make it easy for Guyanese. So once you have your ID, you come through the airport without a hassle. You just swipe in as a Guyanese. You come, you get your pension. If you're a pensioner, you get it paid into a bank account. You don't have to show up every month. If you have any interaction with the government, you get your money easily. You can open a bank account from your home through online means. You know, you don't have to go in physically to the bank. This is the sort of thing we want to ensure that would, you know, improve the quality of life of our people, wherever they live, even in rural areas, not just the city, or like that's where, like here in Region 4 and maybe 3, we tend to get more services. But whether you live in Region 1 or Region 9 or Region 10 or any part of the country, you must be able to enjoy these services. Our children there should get good quality internet, be able to do. It's an exciting thing that we want to talk about. So I didn't say that APNU could steal our ideas. Like, they don't want to, remember they said they don't want to object to people, and in the because PPP will take the objections, or I don't know if you'd steal the people, but they said, oh, they don't want to do a oil and gas strategy now. PPP would steal their ideas. Well, I already told you about a lot that we're going to be pursuing the next term. The quality of life issues. We have to get levels up, costs down, focus heavily on cost of living. We've done it by subsidizing a whole range of stuff now: electricity, water, transport. Now we're doing that. Mortgage rates have come down, internet services have come down. We now need better supply response on food. That means we have to grow more food, process more food, do a lot, because if you just rely on imported food, when the prices go up, the prices globally, the prices will go up here too. So a lot of that focus in the future on quality of life issues in the next term. So trust me, next week APNU will talk about that. You know, but we're not shy about what we want to do.
All right, thank you. In the 2020 to 2025 manifesto, the PPP promised to enact campaign financing laws.
We're working on a draft now. It will be it's at the AG chamber. Yeah, Kimberly, come back on UN Security Council again.
Just want to know on the gas to energy project, whether or what's your decision on whether you will accept the DAB's verdict?
So today there is a meeting with the DAB. I don't know if it's completed as yet, but at the end of that meeting, by tonight we will know, because if we're going to arbitration, we have to decide by tomorrow latest.
You haven't decided?
So we think we know where we're heading, but I don't want to be premature before the DAB meeting, which is taking place today. And our lawyers and everybody, they're engaged with the DAB, and the decision would be known by tomorrow. So these are. Thank you. Kaichur, didn't this week I miss y'all. I miss